Good afternoon, it's 12:30 on a Wednesday, and here is your daily ACSOM Bulletin, and you're most welcome to it, everybody. It's already on. As usual on a Wednesday, I'm joined by Brian and I'm joined by Colin. Lads, what's happening?
What is happening, Kev? What is happening? It is match day, Celts. It is time to look forward to another European night under the lights at Paradise, and I cannot wait.
You can't wait
to see Angelo again in all its glory. Can't wait.
Brian, you're making your first visit to Celtic Park tonight for quite a little while, eh?
Aye, first time for a while, mate. Between the pandemic and living so far away, it's the first time for a couple of years. So I can't wait. So I dare say there'll be loads of viewers queuing up to buy me pies and various sort of things at the concession stand tonight. So we thank you for all the work we put in. But as long as I'm not getting hit with the pies, that's good. I can't wait.
Brian, that's not going to happen, mate. I can tell you that. What you'll end up getting is a couple of strange, funny looks with folk who want to maybe come up and speak to you and decide it's no you. Maybe that's just me. maybe that just happens to me.
I get funny looks all the time anyway, pal. I get them in a daily life, so they make any difference.
Brian McLean, 19, first game back tonight, cannot wait, hail, hail. Obviously, I'm no gone because I'm still boycotting any game that I need to pay for, out with my season ticket. But it seemed like sell out, unbelievably sell out when you looked at the queues outside the ticket office over the last couple of days and the amount of hassle that people have had trying to get tickets for this game. And even at the weekend there against Hearts, I mean, one of my members on my supporters club, he never got in. Just never got in whatsoever because his season tickets didn't work. And by the time that he actually got there, I think it was about 20 past 4 by the time he got into the ticket office. And he says there was families and that standing out. There was families standing outside the stadium and stuff like that. And they said it was absolutely horrendous. And this is a club who want to say that they're an elite level football club when it's quite clearly that there's some of the structure within the football club that's not up for purpose, eh, Colin?
Aye, it's not ideal. I walked past it on Sunday on my way into the ground, and this was at 25 past 2. And at that point, it was queued from the ticket office round the side, down onto the main road, back round, back past the superstore. And I turned around to my pals and I said, see if my ticket just doesn't work, I'm going back to the car. I'll just watch it on my phone. It's a shambles, to be honest, that we don't have the technology that enables this. I was speaking to a couple of people today and they were saying, we're hoping that a postman comes with tickets tonight. And I'm like, there's no tickets. It's on the season book. I think there's a bit of a miscommunication there. When you order the tickets, it says delivered by post. I think some people just don't get that, and it's understandable because of the way that they put the text out. I'd like to see Celtic look at this going forward. I know other teams in Scotland have also said that there's issues getting into their grounds at the moment. One thing maybe to improve the system would be to introduce QR codes so that you could actually just scan your phone to get into the ground, which I know a couple of teams in Scotland have already done. Teams across Europe do that as well, and it would avoid the kind of fact of someone trying to dig out the old HP printer and then finding out that they've run out of ink and having to run down to Tesco to replace it. So there's a couple of things. I think this will all be part of the modernisation that we're looking to do, and as we said, Rome's not built in a day, so it will take a while, and unfortunately I think we're going to see more of these scenes over the next coming weeks.
Brian, you got a ticket in the general sale yesterday. What's your feelings on having to pay £2.30 to print the bit of paper? £2.30 to print it.
It says a £2 admin fee for sending it out, print it at home, but the only way you can get it is to print it at home. I was less concerned with that. More I was concerned with the fact that the interface on an iPhone was a nightmare to actually try and purchase the ticket. I was like my old man, I'm sitting with the phone and I'm going, I'm hitting it and I'm swearing at it and it just wouldn't work. But eventually I got it, which is good. But I think, look, it's obviously an antiquated system because you can download a PDF to your phone. It's Colin said, in theory, you should just scan it. Like if you're going for a trainer, whatever now. I had to take a mad dash to Cardonald Library to try and print off my ticket to sign up for a library card or something, just to get in to use the printer. That's how crazy it was. But I got there, and that's the main thing. But as you say, I'd tell you what, if I was a season ticket holder though, I would be furious at the queues and missing. I'm going to go there about 45 tonight, just stand outside to make sure my ticket.
Well, you're probably better doing that. But I went to the Dundee game and my paper ticket failed. And I showed it to a steward, and he says, "Oh, you'll need to go to the ticket office." So me and my daughter wandered down to the ticket office and stood there for about half an hour. Got into the ticket office. The guy behind the counter at the ticket office was fantastic with me. Then he told me I had tried to go on the wrong turnstile. So remember and read your ticket correctly. And if you show it to a steward, make sure they read it correctly as well to point you to the correct turnstile. We've got a couple of Stevie boys buzzing for tonight's game. Brian Murphy, my first game back in a couple of years. Absolutely buzzing. Hail, hail. What else is we going? Jack Johnson comes in. Well, I would surely faint if I was in the vicinity of Kevin Graham. Jack, I can now assure you that I do have daily showers, so that wouldn't be happening. Look, we've got 2 signings on the go, seemingly on the go. Apparently, Tam Mulligan comes in, that Werder Bremen's in for the Greek boy, and I'm not even going to have an attempt to say his name at this precise moment in time. I've got a question for you, Colin. How do Celtic do their transfer business? Do they use the public phone and turnstiles? Do they use carrier pigeon? Or do they still use a fax machine?
It's probably a bit of a combination of all three, to be honest, Kev. What really surprised me, though, was the kind of information that was coming out yesterday about the transfer of Juranović from Legia Warsaw. The first thing came out that they'd rejected the bid of £2 million and they would get back round the negotiation table, but that a bid would come in tomorrow, as in today, and that should be the one that gets accepted. It seems as though they get the guy into work overtime last night, because the deal got accepted about 5:30, 6 o'clock. So hopefully that one is one we'll see coming in very soon. I think it addresses a very important position that we need reinforcements in. The kind of Giakoumakis is one that it's kind of came out of left field. Now, I was looking at that league last year, because it always seems to be that a lot of these players come out of that league and they don't go for the vast amounts of money. So when he was at VVV Venlo last year, scoring 29 goals, you were expecting to see some bigger names coming in for him. I think Southampton were previously linked, and as the commenter said there, Werder Bremen. Now, at the kind of price that we're talking about, that's someone that we can afford to take a bit of a risk on. When you look at his goal scoring record, it's not great out with what his goals were for last season. But considering some of the risks that we've taken before, and the fact that we could probably have another 2 or 3 strikers in the team to rely upon, it's certainly one worth taking the hit on, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, it seems a definite and Postecoglou signing. It's came from completely from nowhere, and I've got a funny feeling, Brian. See the money that we're talking here, I don't think Eddie's going anywhere.
Well, I've been saying this for a while now. I didn't think Eddie was going. I just felt like the clubs that were in for him, I felt as if he didn't fancy, and I got the impression that he was quite happy to ride out this year and then have the pick of the bunch, essentially, because then if he's free, he's going to get a host more clubs. I think Celtic holding out for the 20 million, last year's contract, well, fair from our perspective, is probably off-putting to people who think, they can either go for another target and get him for free in a year, or sign a pre-contract in 6 months. So I've been under the impression he wasn't going anywhere. I'm interested to see, though, if that then means that Ayeti will go. Because I think having Furuhashi, Edward, Ayeti and Griffith and this new Greek striker potentially all at the club seems overkill for me. So I would expect something to happen in the striking department in terms of moving out. I just don't think it will be Eddie. And I'm going to be honest as well, I actually think for the first time, maybe it was because fans were back in a full house, but he looked like he really enjoyed his game the other day. Look, I would have probably still sold him, to be honest. I think his time's up. But if we get an enthused Eddie that enjoys playing handball, maybe it's not the worst news.
What do you think, Colin? Scott Howe comes in. If you buy this Greek boy, he's only costing $3 million. I love the fact that we say only in football terms. He's only costing $3 million. Keep Eddie for another season. If Eddie's going to hang about for another season, is it worthwhile making him the highest paid player at the club, getting him to sign an extension to the contract to make sure we get money?
I mean, this is what we've kind of said about a couple of people that's in that same situation. We try to say it with Ayer as well. We're hoping that he'd maybe sign a new deal and then get the extended money for him. Ryan Christie's another one that falls into that boat. When you look at Eddie, I still think there's going to be movement there between now and the end of the season. I don't think when the window shuts that Eddie will be a Celtic player. I still think that a bid will come in towards the last couple of days, and that probably leaves you with Kyogo, Ayeti and this new boy Giakoumakis when he comes in as your 3 strikers for the season. So I think if you're going to continue to play the formation that Ange has been trying to play over the last sort of 6-7 weeks in the 4-3-3, then it works. As you said, Brian, you're spot on. I thought Eddie definitely showed that extra bit of commitment and guile on Sunday. You saw it, especially coming up for his goal. I thought he was very impressive. The difference is, though, and it's not a kind of dig on Eddie at all, I think Ange prefers a striker who plays into the high press. And Eddie will close a man down, but he takes longer to close a man down than, say, Kyogo does when he's playing through the middle. They really push up and it pushes them back. He knows his weaknesses are in defence at the minute. So if you can do what you did like on Sunday and stop the team getting out their own half, it plays into your strengths. And I think that's the style that he's looking to play going forward.
What do you think of that, Brian? What do you think of Eddie's performance on Sunday against Hearts?
Again, I thought it was good. I think Colin's right about the closing down. Well, to be fair, Superman couldn't close a player down the Furuhashi. The wee man's all over the place, isn't he? He's a one-man band. And I think this plays into what we were talking about at the start of the season in terms of should Ange adapt his tactics. And I don't think he should have. And it turns out he's not done it. But I think what we're seeing is he's defending from the front. While the team's not defensively set up in terms of protecting the back four, it looks like he's demanding everyone contributes, and then that hopefully, stops some attacks and goal. But look, we've said it a million times. I think we're going to concede goals. We just are the way we play. It's a swashbuckling style, and we're going to. But you're right. I think he wants players that are going to press for the front. Eddie, yeah, he presses and he worked hard, but that's no really his game. But again, I think playing with very, very classy players like playing with other classy players, and the way Turnbull's been playing, the way Chris been playing, Furuhashi, Abada, Forrest. I think a guy like Eddie will really enjoy that. I think he just enjoys football. You saw his reaction when he spoke to the crowd and his runs he was making. So, and again, as I think JP Mason pointed it out as well, and I've said it before, he's not actually really come out and made noises he's wanting to go. Although we're assuming he does. So, listen, you may see a wee bit of resurgence from him, and it might be a case where, like Christie, we just get the best out of him for as long as we've got him and we move on.
Before we move on from Eddie, there's a couple of points that I want to pick up there. Anthony Patrick Aiken comes in. I'm on the road after this, guys. Give us a shout. I know Tony there is travelling up for Wales, and he travels up for every home game from Wales. So safe journey, Tony, and hopefully we'll see you at a game soon. Tony Haggerty came up on the Celtic Way, the article he wrote after the Hearts game. Revenge. That was his talk about the 15 days between the first Hearts game and the second Hearts game. And for me, it seemed more than 15 days. It could have been 15 light years. The difference in the two performances in those 15 days has been a remarkable turnaround. And you have a look at Eddie, and you have a look at Ange hasn't backed down one iota of how he wants his team to play football. Mm-hmm. And he's got the players to believe in it. And I know that there was someone on the ACSOM platform that wanted Ange to adapt. I don't think he's adapted one little bit. I think the players have just bought into what he's going to do. There was an interview with Joe Hart, which appeared in one of the Australian papers, where Joe Hart basically says Ange just told him, we're playing this way and I expect you to make a couple of saves because we are going to give up chances. Are we just going to get on with that, Colin? Are we just going to need to accept it? And I don't think Ange has adapted on or off the pitch one little bit. What he's been saying has been consistent all the time. And the only thing we've seen it's changed, adapted, has been the players.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. And I'll admit, I was one of the ones that was saying, when you're kind of looking at it, to get that grace period in, he might have to change the way that he's playing. But he's proven it wrong. He's went out and there's been some fantastic performances. I think even the Hearts game aside, it's been a very good start to the season. And even in that Hearts game, it wasn't as if the performance was poor. It was a team that was still in transition and not getting that click that they needed. The Dundee game was the click. That was the one where a lot of players kind of understood what they had to do. You were getting the best out of players who maybe 12 months ago, you were thinking, they've not got a future here at this club. And he's done well. And the fact that he's doing that with players that are ones that you'd have said 12 months ago, they've not got a future at the club. What's he going to do when he gets his own players in? And we're starting to see that. I mean, McCarthy made a couple of minutes there at the weekend. It'll be interesting to see what he brings to that midfield. Starfelt, I've not been 100% sold on so far. I still think there's more to come from him, or I hope there's more to come from him. But when you look at guys like Abada and Kyogo going forward, it's exciting to watch. I text my pals in the group chat the other day and I was like, this football's what we've been dying to see for ages. It's not one side to the other. It's constant attack. And as I said, Hearts couldn't get out their own half in that first half. And that's what you want to see. Keep them on the back foot. It tires them out. I know we made, 35 shots at the weekend. And I think only 11 went on target. As that continues to grow, if you get quality players in, you're going to see 50-60% of them shots go on target. And what the other teams are going to need is a fantastic goalkeeper performance to keep it out. I mean, I thought Dundee's goalkeeper was at Legston. I thought he had an outstanding game against Celtic a week or so ago, and he still conceded 6. So what's it going to be if a goalkeeper has a bad game against us? There's every chance we could see double figures scored at Celtic Park this season. But I think someone said it in our group chat as well, it won't be like 10-0. It might be 10-2 or 10-3. But it's winning football. It's getting fans off their seats. It's entertaining. And that's the reason why tonight is a full house. Because everyone's excited to watch Celtic play.
I think you mentioned goalkeepers there, and I'm wondering now why Craig Gordon's so angry with Celtic. He's had 2 inspired performances against them, which is his job. It's his absolute job, but he just seems to have an aura about him that he's got something to prove to Celtic. Celtic didn't owe him nothing, and Craig Gordon shouldn't be angry with Celtic. Celtic offered him the same money that he was on at Hearts, but couldn't offer him first-team football. That's it, and he left. So why he seems to be going about with an angry school teacher face as if he's got a point to prove against Celtic, I do not know. I didn't understand it, but fair play to Craig. He was fantastic at the weekend. He was also fantastic in the first game with that save for James Forrest. And for somebody like me who likes stories, I thought that was a great end to a story for Craig Gordon. What do you think, Brian, about Ange and the fact that he's not backed down? He's admitted in the interviews for today's game that he's not going to back down either. Doesn't matter if he's going to be playing Barcelona or AZ Alkmaar. He's not going to change what he's going to do.
Love it. Absolutely love it. I said it for the start. I think what we were crying out for last season, and probably the season before actually, although we were successful, was somebody with a clear vision, clear philosophy, putting a culture into the club, putting standards in. And Ange said for the very first interview, if people buy into me, we've got this. You need to buy in, and that includes the fans. I think one of his quotes today was about, if you're going to go down, you go down swinging, basically, which I love. I think that's a great part. And I love the fact that he's going for it and he's committed to this vision, and that's what we want. And the players are buying in, as you both said. I don't think it's a coincidence either. Since we've changed the midfield, you've got Turnbull. I think his performances have improved massively. Giakoumakis been tremendous for the start of the season. Absolutely tremendous. Rodgik's been like a new player. He's been a wizard. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the players on the bench now, you've got Sorrell, McCarthy, Big Shaw, Christie, that can come on in their place. So you're seeing that competition for places slowly starting to emerge as well. And I think that's a factor because players know, and I don't get the impression he plays favourites. I think if your performance drops, you're out of the team. And again, I love that. And it's just about fostering that attitude. And I put a tweet the other day and I said, I love the game so much and I've kind of fell in love with Ange so much because it's the first time in a long time I've seen Celtic play the Celtic way and what I think the Celtic way should be. And it's just so exciting. And look, I've still, my expectations have maybe raised a bit than they did at the start of the season. But I'm still, there's a long way to go. And, you know, and I think, Kev, you said it as well, we're going to take a few slow faces. But the way we're playing, it's so exciting. You can see what's the thing is we can see what we're trying to do. We can see the potential there. With some new signings coming in. I mean, look at the difference, as you said at the start, Kev, first Hearts game to that Hearts game. Imagine where we're going to be in a year's time under Ange. I think we're at the start of something really special. I really, really do.
Ryan, for me, the catalyst has been the wee fella that Ryan Kelly's talking about here, Furuhashi. He says equals a flash.
Flashahashi.
I'm sure he can get by. I'm sure you'll be able to buy that outside party tonight, Brian, if you find the right folk. I mean, we Furuhashi, who I think, what does that symbol? Is it Mount Fuji or
I
is
thought
it
it was the mushroom. The mushroom.
He's talking about the magic
that was his
mushroom.
nickname. That's a different show, Kevin. No, I think that was his nickname over in Japan, was the mushroom. It was to do with his haircut. So
wow, there you go. My daughter calls him K-pop, which is seemingly some reference to some Far East music. Yeah. I don't know anything about that whatsoever. If anybody, whoever listens to Schema Celica will actually find out.
Okay, that's it. You've got the BTS fan team coming down on you now for not knowing about K-pop.
I wished I knew what you were talking about there, Colin, but that just sounds gibberish to me. Palman comes in here saying that the Dutch club are demanding £5 million for the Greek striker. So that's a bit of knowledge from the Netherlands. Do you think that will put Celtic off, Colin?
No, I think they'll get back down on the negotiating table, get the guy in to do overtime again, and then we'll see what the actual fee will end up being. Mm-hmm. Even at that, I still think Celtic will take the risk. As I said, if you have someone like Giakoumakis, if Edward goes, then you're left with him, Kyogo, and a Yeti probably for the rest of the season. So it's a sort of fluid three that's up there. I noticed it on Sunday as well. I know it was the old Neil Lennon tactic of switching the wingers, but we did actually do that. We moved Kyogo and Forrest and switched them round. I think a lot of that was actually to do with the fact that was it Peter Haring that was marking Kyogo on Sunday. That was shocking what he tried to get away with on Sunday, and the fact that it took right up until the 44th minute before he managed to get a foul for what he was on the ground half of the game because of the way he was getting flung about. Now, it's a credit to him that the first thing he done once he won the free kick is get back up, kind of a smile on his face, right over to the Celtic fans and geeing them up, getting them right back into it. And it shows the sort of the mannerisms, and it shows the kind of sturdiness that he's built with. And he's going to get a lot of that this season. So the fact that he's already up for it is not someone who's going away and sulking. That's a great thing to see. But yeah, whether we bring this guy in or not, he's going to have to, if he does come in, he is going to have to learn how to play that role, because looking at the clips of him from last season, he was very much a penalty box striker. He's someone who didn't really move outside the 18-yard box. You get his kind of head and his toe on the end of things. And he scored 9 penalties last year out of the 29 goals. And it's something we've not had for a while, as a sort of competent penalty taker. So with the amount that we're creating, there's every chance that we're going to get a lot of penalties this year. And if you get someone that you know is kind of confident in taking them, that's a massive addition to having the team.
Brian, you would like to think that Ange knows this player inside out, and I know Colin's saying that he looks a penalty box player as per his clips for last season, but surely this has got the hallmarks of Postecoglou all over it, and surely Postecoglou has got as much confidence in Giorgos as what than he had with Furuhashi, that it is going to work.
I think so. I mean, to be fair, if you looked at I know there's a lot of analysis done about Postecoglou's tactics and stuff coming in, and who might fit and who might not. And Roger, doesn't he run? He can't run. He's not a great, tracker down. It didn't seem as if he was going to fit that well, and yet he's been excellent. So I think Postecoglou, I don't think every player has to do the same job. So I think he. My opinion is, I think he wants this guy to offer a different dynamic up front, so that if he's got him there as a penalty box, maybe the games that only just wants overloads into the box and him there, maybe he's going to allow the players to move around about him and him just to be that presence, and maybe use his physicality to allow space for the likes of Furuhashi to come in. So he maybe just wants a different dynamic, which again speaks to the fact that the guy's a very, very clever coach, and while his style of play is not going to change, his tactics within that might. So I think, and the fact that apparently it's him that Postecoglou personally called him, that's a foreign case in there for him. And that's a good sign as well, because it shows that he's got a clear idea and he's someone he's identified either early on or recently.
It's almost as if, sorry, Colin. It's almost as if Postecoglou's went to Don Mackay. Give us that phone. I know somebody. Stop messing about with these Man City loanees. I know somebody, and let's get this done.
I mean, it worked for Kyogo, so you've got to give Ange the benefit of the doubt there when he brings this guy in, and you give him the grace period. The one thing I would say about him being a penalty box striker, though, just to add on to what Brian was saying there, when you look at the sort of the overlapping runs that's coming in, especially on Sunday, what I noticed was you get Kyogo on the left and Forrest on the right, and then you had Taylor and Ralston coming down and sort of inverting in there as well. But there was never a ball in the air, really. It was always along the deck. So this guy's got to be good with his feet as well, so that he can get onto that. We don't see the ball getting flung in the way it used to last season, and you'd put it in, there'd be one striker and 4 defenders in there, and it would easily get headed clear. There was a bit of a mix of how the ball was coming across, and that's good to see as well. We're trying different things. I think what we've seen so far is only the start, and I think Ange just said that as well, is that he thinks he can get another 10-20% out of these players as well, and that's so encouraging as a fan, because what you've liked is great so far, so what's still to come?
And yes, what is still to come, we can only have a look at what's happened the last couple of games, and it's been brilliant. Monty comes in with this comment: get rid of Griffiths and give his wage to Christie. I'm going to expand on this. If you could move Lee Griffiths on, you could give his wage also to Edward to actually stay for another season and sign another contract. For me, Alice McConnell wrote an article on the Celtic Way website asking for Lee Griffiths, saying he needs to start contributing for match days. I'd actually even forgot he was there. For me, he's now such a person non grata at Celtic Football Club that I can't see him being available for selection, and this is where I'm maybe erring towards the side that Eddie is staying. Colin,
I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie stays. But we're talking about like giving his wage to Christie or to Eddie. From what we've been kind of led to believe, the new contract that Griffiths signed was a vast reduction on what he was on before. Mm-hmm. So it's not as if there's going to be a lot of money that you could kind of put that way. And if you look at other players that we've moved on, the likes of Scott Brown and even Christopher Ayer, the wages will still be there. I had to laugh at a kind of article I saw in the Daily Record today, and it says the Josip Juranović transfer takes a dent into Celtic's £30 million that they've brought in. So what they're saying is we've managed to replace these players for half the money of what we've taken in. Surely that's a positive. And in that case, there'll be wages there as well. So for me, if Ryan Christie wants to stay, I think there'll be a contract on the table for him. If Eddie wants to stay, I think there'll be a contract on the table for him. And for me, Griffiths isn't a Celtic player.
I think you're getting into the last 2 weeks of the transfer window, Brian, and the transfer window's been quiet. It has been quiet when you look down south and the markets that we're in. We're now getting into the area where the guys who have had the poker faces now start dealing and clubs start dealing. What's kind of puzzling me is I think it looks fairly certain that the guy's Scales, I was going to call him John Scales there. That's just me going back. That's me just going back.
Showing your age.
I'm showing my age there, The boy Scales is going to come in for Shamrock Rovers. I don't think he's coming in as a project. I think he's coming in to go into the first team squad.
He needs to. He needs to, Kevin. He can't play for the Colts team. He's too old.
Is he too old for the Colts team?
He'd need to go straight into the first team.
So he's going to come into the first team. We don't seem to be getting linked with any left backs. And even though, Colin, you did say that he can play left back, but I think you called him on the Wednesday group chat this morning.
He was Charlie Mulgrew type.
He's like Charlie Mulgrew type. We'll let the viewers decide whether that's a compliment or not to call the boy Scales a Charlie Mulgrew type. But are we actually going to look at anybody else apart from these three players? I'm finding it very difficult to say that we are going to bring in anybody else, Brian.
Yeah, it's interesting because I still think left back's a priority. As much as I praised Taylor and I praised Ralston, and I said that full backs were still a priority because we're so short. And the left back case is the one that worries me. No necessarily because of Taylor, but because I still think they both see Taylor, Bolingoli, and Montgomery, and I think that they might be questioning the wisdom of buying another one. But then again, Postecoglou said as well, there's a bunch of players they're looking at, and only some have been, named. So it could be the case something's going on behind the scenes. We don't know. But I mean, Furuhashi came out the blue. So I think Abada came out the blue as well, didn't he? He was fairly. He was that
was the do Han. That was the once a transfer window, press the button and call do and you get a boy in.
Do Han.
But call me. Are we actually now believing that?
The anticipation's killing me here.
Yeah, comments and
the anticipation. What were you saying, Kevin? Let us know.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Am I back? Okay. Is it like, even though Abada came from a known source, right? Can we safely say that was a Postecoglou stamp signing?
I would say so. I would say so.
So
he suits the style that Postecoglou wants to play. I mean, there's always been the kind of questions on whether Joe Hart or James McCarthy were Ange signings. But I think, Brian, I think you've said this before as well. There have been a list of players that Celtic's probably previously scouted, and it's been put to him. And he had all that time when he was in London, self-isolating, and he's had the time since he's been up there to take a look at it. So, for me, I think he's got to be the one that gives the sign-off on it. I don't think there's players that's going to come in without Ange at least saying, aye, okay.
I agree. I mean, I think when you see, I was a bit critical when we signed Joe Hart and James McCarthy as well, that they didn't look like Ange signings, because it was quite clear that Joe Hart had never spoke to Ange when he done that Celtic interview. But I think what Ange has looked at, I think they are Ange signings, and hearing they adapted by signing them, he's had a look at these players and went, I need a goalkeeper who's got a presence, because the goalkeepers that I've got in the squad haven't got a presence. I also need an experienced midfielder as well, who has played at a top level, who can help these guys through. And that's why he's bringing McCarthy as well. And even though they've been on a list, I still believe that they haven't been foisted on Ange's second choices or third choices. He's made the conscious decision, as he has says in interviews, that he's doing the majority of the scouting. Mm-hmm. But that will change. What do you think of that, Brian? Again, for me, this is another reason why I don't think Ange's adapted his style whatsoever.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't get the impression Ange is going to adapt for anybody. He just doesn't seem the type of man who's going to be told, you're signing this player, you better play him. And I would hate to be the man that tried to tell him that, to be honest, because I don't imagine it'd be a very kind response you'd get back. But you're right, I think, I referred it to, I said it was like an Argos catalogue. He basically each selection and he had to pick from it. But he's decided who out of that selection he's coming in. What I love about the way he spoke about his signings, and I think it's really key, I think you and I have harped on about this in the past, Kevin. He spoke about the type of person you need to be at this club, the type of person he wants you in the squad, the type of culture he wants to foster at the club. And I think that is really important how he's picking players. I think he's actually Are they going to gel with the team, not just on the park but off the park? Are they good people? Are they going to work hard? Are they going to be drama queens? If they are, they can go. So I think he's been very careful. I think already you can see there's a good vibe in the team, not just in how they're playing, but how they're interacting. You know, when the Calmac done his sort of last minute huddle and he got everyone in, you can see Big Joe Hart pulling him in and, you know, getting involved, and you saw a bit of passion. We Kyogo start people on the shoulder for a cuddle. Like, you can see there's a good atmosphere there in the squad, and I think he's been incredibly clever in bringing that in, because that seems key to how we're going to succeed. So yeah, I think his signings, I think maybe the only one I might have questioned would have been Urhoghide. Shaw was obviously brought in before he joined. Urhoghide, I'm no sure came in very quickly as well. It might be the case that, look, I think this young boy's going to be really good for the future, and he's kind of said, yeah, I don't know how, because he's not a sight, you know, of action. Similarly to Bolingoli, we just went back to the left back point. He's not featured in any pre-season game at all, has he?
No. Did they not get 15 20 minutes? One of the games? I think he came off the bench.
Maybe the West Ham game when we got gubbed, but I don't recall, if I'm honest. But either way, no featured much. Mm-hmm. And even it's been Montgomery, it's been coming on to replace him, who's looked good, by the way. The wee man's showed up well. So interestingly, why guys like Ayeti, Bolingoli, Barkas, because I think they're still. You noted about that ridiculous article, I saw that as well, Colin, and that's just another example of why fan media's getting so much more traction than mainstream media these days, because that was a ridiculous article. They're financially fine. They're, you know, just because there's other people that aren't, doesn't mean they should try and, you know, label us the same. And I think that we've still got money to make back. As I say, Ayeti I see going, if Edwards stays, I think Barkas will go, Bolingoli will go, and then you might find there's you know, other some squad players will go as well. So there's still money to win as well as money to get out. So I think there's still plenty of scope to bring players in. And I think we will get a left back, a striker, a right back, and then you might find he brings in someone else as well.
That's an interesting point, Kevin, that Brian's making there. See if you are going to bring in Giakoumakis and Juranović, right, and they're your next two, and then Scales comes in as well. What's still needed between now and the end of the window? Because there is only 13 days left. We're into the last 2 weeks. What positions do you think we still need to strengthen?
I find it very difficult because I don't know what's gone through Ange Postecoglou's head. I think he's very. I think it really depends on who leaves. I mean, he has been very open and honest. Going, if you want to leave, leave. Mm-hmm. If you didn't want to be here, be part of my club. Leave. I'm not going to stand in your way. And I think that's the same with signings. But if he talks to a signer, if he talks to this Greek boy, and this boy, I'm buying into this, you go, well, come and prove it to me. Didn't bother going to Werder Bremen or somebody else in the comments was actually saying Feyenoord, come and be part of me. If you didn't want to, I'm not interested, I'll move on. I'll find somebody that wants to be a part. And I think this waiting game, the way these transfer windows happen, is probably hampering him. He's probably going to Eddie, you're going to give me an indication whether you're going to be here on the 1st of September or whenever the transfer window finishes. He's maybe going to Ryan Christie, give me an indication you're going to be here, because I need to start making plans on who I need, what phone calls I need to make now to get these guys in on the final day. Well, because if we leave it longer, you're then into the loan market. Yeah, that's where you're heading. You're not into buying players or getting players on loan. You're not into actually developing your own players, and that's a problem for me. So at the moment, I can see the three coming back, the three coming in, the great guy Juranović and Scales. But at the moment, I wouldn't expect anybody else unless there's major guys go out the door. Brian,
I think that the only thing I think Scales is probably coming in at centre half by the looks of it. I don't think he's really coming in as a left back. So it could be the case that he's a centre half. We've got a right back, big Giorgos up front, hopefully, and then I still think we're going to get a left back. I really do, even if that's a loan deal. I still see that coming in. If we get that sorted, I think we're looking fairly strong. Still got Julian to come back. I think Welsh has done really well. and we saw that some of the younger guys, we've still got Dembele to come back, and we saw some of the younger guys making an impression pre-season. Dane Murray, my big hero, Shaw, young Moffat's been smashing it in the Colts, and I know it's a low level, but the man looks good as well. So I think we're probably all right. We get the right back, left back, striker, and a centre half. I had assumed that they would probably try and get a loan deal for a centre half till Julian gets back, a permanent transfer for either fullback and a striker. But it could be the case that this boy for Shamrock Rovers is the centre half.
That's what I was about to say, Brian. If this boy Scales comes in, then I can't see them having a look at any other centre halves because they've still got Julian to come back. I can't see it. I really can't.
For me, that's why I think he's coming in at left back. I think he's coming in at left back, and as much as people will probably not like what I'm saying here, I think he'll be told that he's to learn from Greg Taylor. I think that will be the way it is.
Nothing wrong with that. Taylor's dynamite.
I think he's been fairly decent the last couple of games. I still think you're going to bring in an experienced centre-half, another experienced head at centre-back. And we should always begin into any season with at least 4 centre-backs. That was our biggest problem last year, and we can't afford to do that 2 seasons in a row. You're getting to the point where if Starfelt or even Welsh gets injured, as it stands at the minute, you're throwing in Beaton. And that's not a position that you want to be in, because he's already shown it this season, never mind last season or the season before, that we can't trust him. So you do want to bring in someone that's got that wee bit of experience. And I know Russell Boyce is still driving the buses, and his latest boss is Gary Cahill. But I don't think you're going to see someone like that coming in. But an experienced player in that level would be a good loan deal. And do you know what? As much as loan deals aren't what we're looking to do, if you get the first choice in as a permanent signing, then you want a backup or someone that you can rely upon for a spell as the loan deal. You don't want it to be that's filling in the whole gap the way we did last year when you're bringing in guys like John Joe Kenny on loan who became your first choice right back.
I can't see that happening, Colin. I think we've had a line in the sand moment over the summer, and we're not going to just bring in players to make up the numbers. Fuji's Toner says we need a right back, left back, centre back, and centre forward. If we're going on that, then hopefully we'll have three of those in the building by the end of this week, and we're only looking for a centre forward. Callan 1888 says the left back is a must. Ralston has outshone Taylor in every game. I'm going to strongly disagree with that, Callan. I think Greg Taylor has been brilliant. Yes, he's got his faults, but I think he's done everything that Ange's asked for him. I think we maybe need a backup left back, but I've said previously, and I'll stand by it, that I wouldn't be throwing money at a left back to come in as a first choice left back, because I really think there's other areas of the team that need attended to first. Jim Rafferty chucks in a couple, an interesting one here. I like his John Lydon avatar there. Need another goalkeeper, Colin. What if Hearts gets injured? What do you think of that, Colin? Do you think we need another goalie?
I wouldn't be surprised. I know there was talk that David Marshall was up at the game on Sunday, watching it as a fan, before anybody thinks that he's coming in doing what Jan Kutu done and getting a free ticket to go and watch his play and then decide not to come. But someone with a bit of experience would be beneficial, especially as it looks as if Barkas will maybe move out. I don't think you can overly rely on Bain for a full season. And again, it's something I've always said, for each position that we have at the club, we should have 3 players that we can rely upon to come in and do a job. And at the minute, we've not got that in a goalkeeper. That would probably be one of the loan deals if you're going to go into that market.
Definitely. I mean, we've got a game. We've got a game tonight. Brian, you're going to it. What do you think? Any changes Ange will make? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, actually. I think, I know Christie and Abad are still out, so you'd imagine the front 3 still the same. Furuhashi, Eddie and Forrest. Midfield 3, I don't know why you would change that midfielder now. Rogic, he's not a new player, he's been excellent so far. Turnbull's excellent in that deeper role. Carmack's been running the show. And defensively, Ralston, Taylor, Welsh, Starfelt, I don't see why you would change any of that. And also Big Joe goals. Interesting point about Ralston versus Taylor, and now that Ralston's getting a bit of credit, it's as if we need to slag Taylor now, which I don't think is really fair. What I would say is, I think Taylor's like a good footballer. I just don't think he's a. Depends how you look at it, because I don't think Angeli wants these fullbacks like taking on a player and bombing by and crossing it. They seem to more come inside, and that role suits him better than a traditional left back role. I think Ralston's the most improved player under Postecoglou. They have these limitations. But yeah, they'll obviously start because of the only players there. But no, I don't foresee any changes. And I think another good performance and a win would be massive for the season.
I always love it when I mention my man love for Greg Taylor, because the comments go absolutely mental. McGrory comes in brilliant. You steaming? No, I've not had a drink in 8 years, mate. So I'm no steaming. Where's that other one went? Another one from Paul. Taylor gets slagged because he's a very poor player. I don't think he's a very poor player. I think it's just one of these things, Colin. People just pick on one player and because he's not fashionable and because he doesn't come from a fashionable club, people don't see the values of having Greg Taylor on that side.
No, I agree to an extent with you. I think Greg Taylor's certainly been consistent this year. And as you said, Brian, I think playing that inverted fullback role does suit him more, because he's not one who's going to beat a player and get a crossover, but he does. His passing range is fairly decent and he links up with players well. So he does a job. And at the minute, people will say, well, you need to do more than just does a job to be a Celtic player. But considering the shambles we were last year, it's stages, it's getting there. I'm going to disagree with you because it is Wednesday, Brian. We're going to have something to disagree on. I'm going to make one change to the team that won on Sunday, and I would bring Abada back in now that he's fit, and play him on the right and drop Forrest. He's fit.
Was he? I thought he was ruled out.
No, the only one that's ruled out at tonight's game's Christie. Abada's back in.
All right. Well, I would have Abada in as well, but for the sake of the argument,
no, you can't agree with me now. That's it.
You've not got a clue.
You've bowed down to the pressure, Brian. That's it.
Dave McAdam comes in. How am I muted? Well, you're no, because I can see your comment, Dave. So I don't know what you're on about here. If you say something interesting, I'll bring it up. I can't see many changes tonight. I'm having a look. I'm looking forward to the game tonight. I can't see many changes, but it'll be interesting to see: is this game a barometer? Is this game a major measuring point for Postecoglou's Celtic, Brian?
It will be a measuring point to see where we're at. If we play the same way against Hearts, against Dundee, against Blackburn, and we play that way again tonight, I think that shows massive progress. And I think it'll be a huge milestone, because AZ Alkmaar are a good side. Let's not kid ourselves on. It's a good team that we're playing against tonight. And given where we were a couple of months ago, you'd bite your hand off for a result. So I think it's going to be I don't think if we don't get a result, it sort of derails the season. All depends on the man of the game, but I don't see a reason why we shouldn't be looking to win it tonight. I think Postecoglou will set the team out to win us again. I don't think he adapts to anybody. I don't think he wants us to be scared of facing any opposition. And at a packed Parkhead, we really should be looking to win. So I'm not going to judge them too harshly if the result doesn't go our way, as long as the performance is there. But I have every confidence actually in the team, and I think that it'll be massive for the season. We can get a result tonight, a good, comfortable performance at home in Europe, which has been the first time in a while. That just sends confidence soaring through the team, soaring back through the fans, and that's priceless, really.
When you look at Alkmaar, Kevin, they lost their opening game of the season at the weekend there. They lost 1-0. But again, they were a team that had something like 60-70% possession, so very similar to the way that Celtic play. Had a lot of shots on target, but they are a team, again, that's in transition. They sold 3 of their best players, including their number 1 choice goalkeeper, over the summer there. They sold their top striker to Monaco, but that's not to say that there isn't some other quality that they've got in that team. For me, one of their biggest kind of the way that they're going to come forward and attack is going to be through their left back, who's the Japanese left back. I think he's the number one choice there. And again, things like that, we're going to have to be very careful that they're probably going to take a lot of the pressure and try and target us on the break. So that's things that we're going to need to look at. Look, here's a wee random one for you as well, Kevin. Ruud Gullit's son is actually part of the AZ Alkmaar team. So that's that's one for you. But as one of the comments, I think Powerman's just said there, one of their strikers is suspended for tonight. So I think they'll be one of the teams that will come in. They'll probably try and keep it as close as possible. I think they'll actually be happy enough to go back even 1-0 down, because I think they believe in themselves that they can probably score at home. And with the away goals not really counting for much, then it'll be a case of Celtic will get a lot of possession tonight. I think you're right, but Brian, this is one of these ones where if we play to our potential, then you've got a chance to kind of put this game in reasonable doubt for Alkmaar tonight. If you get a couple of goals, we've got to come out, we've got to have a go at them and show no fear. This is our biggest test so far. I know we played Midtjylland in the Champions League, but this, I think AZ are a better team than Midtjylland. So This is our biggest test tonight. But if we keep playing with this confidence that we've got, if you can get the best out of players that we know aren't up to full scratch, we've got a really good chance to catch this team out tonight. I'm confident that we can get a couple of goals. If I was putting a prediction out there, I'd say we'll win 3-1.
I'm not seeing this as a massive pointer on Ange's future. Terrace Park comes in, big 2 weeks for Ange, and I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this. This is look. We want to get into the Europa League. We would like to get into the Europa League. If that doesn't happen, we're going to drop down to the Conference League, which is probably not ideal for the bean counters at our club. But where we are, where we've came from, we're only talking about, we're only 17 days for Hearts beating us. We're only 20 odd days for a poor Midtjylland side putting us out. And we're maybe getting ahead of ourselves. But I don't think this is about 2 weeks for Ange. I think this is all just part of the small steps of progress that we're going to need to take. And if we get beat tonight, and if we end up in the Conference League, then that's where we're meant to be. That's where we deserve to be, is because that's where we are at a football club. I don't want to really build this up to be make or break for Ange Postecoglou's Celtic, Brian.
No, I don't think it's make or break. I think, I think, as I say, I think if we don't get a result tonight, I don't get the right results, even a draw, I think we're a bit deflating, obviously, because you always want to see Celtic win, but I don't think anyone's going to be too harsh on them, considering improvement over the short term. If you look at that over the long term, the assumption is going to improve dramatically even more. But if we get a win tonight, then the tails go up. And I think that really shows a huge impetus. As Colin says, that they're definitely a better team than Midtjylland, and I think it's a big game tonight. But this is why it's so good to have crowds back, because then we can get back to hopefully Fortress Parkhead and have the fans all screaming and shouting and getting on top of the opposition players. And I think that's going to be a factor as well, is Ange's tactics and his playmakers.
I think if this Fortress Parkhead is one thing that the Celtic PR department loved to spin. I noticed that they were talking about the magic of European nights and emotional returns and stuff like that. I fed up putting. I didn't like people putting spins on people's emotions, because you'll experience what you want to experience. The Celtic PR department telling you it's going to be a magical night. I mean, you can take them to advertising standards for that if it's totally rubbish and you didn't get in. No, that wasn't a magical night. I stood outside a porter cabin for an hour and a half, so I want my money back. I want people just to go there and experience what's going to happen, and just enjoy what's going to happen, even enjoy the defeat, because I think we're going in the right direction. If Finn Fogel comes in, you can't compare AZ to Dundee and Hearts. This team will be much better on the ball than the dross that you get in Scotland. That's a fair comment, Colin, eh?
Definitely, that's what I was saying there. This will be the toughest test I've had so far, and I think this is one of those ones that if we get it right and you come out of here with a victory tonight, that is a momentum builder for sure, especially with the games that we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. If you can keep this run going, then we can continue to bounce off it. It not only gets the players on board, it gets the fans on board, and then with the window closing, if you get the signings in, then suddenly the feel-good factor around Celtic just continues to grow.
As Powerman 1888, no 1988, sorry mate, I added 100 years onto you. AZ are nowhere near the team you're making them out to be. Totally different team from there last year. Celtic 3-0. There is a bit of an unknown here, eh? And I love that. I love the fact that there is a bit of unknown in the opposition and also with our own Celtic team. I love the fact that this could go either way. And if you didn't get excited about going to watch your team and what's going to unfold in front of you, then what's the point of actually being a football fan, Brian? Eh?
Exactly. And listen, I hope he's right. I hope it is 3-0. I'll be delighted. I'll be cartwheeling down London Road, but high-fiving strangers in the street. Can't wait.
I'll record that, by the way. We'll message and I'll record that.
Caller. So I got a stock on the background here. Yeah, I think that. Sorry, it's put me off there. The result will be good, and yeah, they are an unknown. We know that, but they're a Dutch side. They're playing in Europe, and again, look at where we were not long ago. So, calm heads, bit confident.
And there's a lot of confidence on the chat. Confident for tonight, got 4-1 on. I can't be overly confident because the commenter quite rightly says that they are going to be better than Dundee and Hearts. I think that's an easy comparison to make, and we don't know. We really don't know what AZ are going to be like. Is this our first qualifier?
It is the first qualifier.
Yeah, that's the first one. So this is our first foray into Europe. And I'm still actually getting used to the strange of the doctor. It comes in. There's no away goal rule, so it's going to suit our style. I was watching the results come in last night, and I'm going, oh, that's a bad result for Salzburg, 1 each with Bromby because of the away goals. I just keep on forgetting that the away goals are not in there. And do you think, have you seen a difference, Colin, of the teams coming to Celtic Park? That away goal doesn't really count anymore?
Not so much. The kind of performances we've seen from Midtjylland and from Jablanek have just been what you kind of come to expect. I think we've seen maybe a difference in the way that Celtic play, especially when we went over there. The Jablanek game especially, going over there, dominating, scoring the goals, and then just taking it back to Parkhead. It is going to be a weird one for sure. And I can imagine us saying, oh, it's all right, we've got a couple of goals, and then just remembering we've not got the away goal rule, but it's going to take a bit of time to adapt it.
Paul comes in to remind you all to subscribe on YouTube to enter into a free prize draw every month. This month you could win a Platinum Fratelli's disc. Roddy McDonald, a Dutch side, amazing analysis. It's true analysis. They are a Dutch side. It's the most truthful thing I've ever said on this podcast.
Thanks for watching, Roddy.
I know, it's brilliant. I love things like that. So, Brian, what's your plans? This is your first time back in Glasgow for a little while. So, what's your plans for the game tonight?
Well, judging by some of the ticket problems people have had, to worry about the stadium for about 5 to 4, just to make sure I can get in all right.
He's getting earlier. He's going after this next.
I know. I might just take the chance. You see me coming out with my wee flask and my Celtic umbrella. I'm looking forward to going and getting in there, and then we'll see what the result is. And I may be wondering about the pubs of Glasgow, since we're allowed to a bit more freedom now. But either way, I just can't wait to get back and experience as much as the football, experience the fans all together again and singing and yeah, it's just going to be brilliant. Can't wait.
It would be naive though just to not mention the other big European game that's taking place this afternoon. Celtic women come up against Levante in their first Champions League qualifier. The game's live on BBC Alba, I believe, from 2:30. So between this time, looking forward to the game against AZ Alkmaar tonight, and it's certainly worth giving the girls some backing too.
Definitely, if you've got an opportunity to watch that game, please definitely watch it and back the Celtics women team. I'm going to ask you this. Where's that comment there? It's Stephen 1888, 1980. I've done it again. To finish off with, guys, you ain't discussed how young their squad is and if they can handle 60,000 fans or will they freeze. I mentioned on Screamer Celica last night, me and Russell, that you've noticed the difference with this Celtic team with the crowd being back. The Holy Trinity, as Brendan Rodgers called it. There seems to be everybody together, but the fans and the team are together. Will this be a massive factor tonight, Colin?
I hope so. I mean, if you talk about them having a young squad, so do we. When you look at it, we've got a very young backline. So it's good to... It's good to see 60,000, or roughly it's like, 57,000 or something like that in the ground. So, look, all we can do is, if you're going along tonight, back the boys from minute 1 to minute 90 or 90 plus 4 or however long gets added on. We can be the 12th man tonight. We've seen it happen at Celtic Park before. It's 5 o'clock for the girls' game. Fuji's Toners just coming in to confirm, so that's one you can watch just before you go. And hopefully the team put on the performance for us. I think if anybody was able to lip read what Callum McGregor said in that huddle, I think it was something along the lines of, and taking the swearing out, they're there for us, so let's be out there for them, and that's all we can ask for tonight. If you're not getting along to the game, remember the game is on pay-per-view. I think it's £9.99 to watch it online, and I hear Guy Mowbray is the commentator tonight.
Yes, I noticed that. I noticed Celtic announced that as well. That's a bit interesting. That it's also on any other illegal things. if you're that way inclined, right? I think that's has been on for an hour and 2 minutes. Brian, I'll let you get off for a pre-match pint. Colin, I'll let you get off to finish your work, then jump on the bus for Greenock up to the game. I'll see you all later because I'm going to do the match with Paul in my father's kitchen, so it looks like I'm in a dungeon again. And hey, if you're going to the game, good luck. If you're going to watch it with us, I'll see you all later. Hail, hail, and see you all later.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you very much.